So when I was 24 years old, I called my parents, told them I was going to quit my job, start this company called Sandstorm. They said, "Oh, sounds great. If it doesn't work out, you can always move back home." That was enough motivation for me. A little different today. Anyway, I was an art major. I was actually a painter. That's what I went for school for. So when I decided to start the company, I had never sold anything but jeans from the Gap. So I bought a book on how to start a business. My whole history, if I don't know it, I pick up a book, taught myself HTML. Over time, as the company grew, what we found was that it was often the loudest person in the room. We kind of got tired of having these discussions about what should be in the nav when you're building out a website, right? Or what should the features and functionality be? So in 2006, I was thinking there's just got to be a better way, and that's how we got into user experience and conducting usability studies. So what I really want to show you today is we went back over thousands of hours of research, and we're talking one-on-one qualitative research to ultimately say, what are the 10 human truths about us and how we work on our devices, whether it's our mobile device or how we work on our computers. So here's a really fun fact, especially the marketers that are used to working with massive amounts of data. We only need 5 to 6 users from a particular user group to identify 80% of the usability issues. This has been proven over and over again. If you look on the x-axis, that is literally the number of test users. On the y-axis, the number or the percentage of usability issues found. After 5 to 6 users, you have diminishing returns. So doing a massive study makes no fiscal sense. But what if you can do multiple small studies? And that's really been the growth of user experience work. And what's so cool about it? You can test on an existing site. You can test on prototypes. You can test in person, one-on-one. We have a usability lab, so we prefer that. But you could travel. We do a lot of work where you can go to conferences and events. Well, we used to. And with that, you can gather all these insights, but you can also test on your wireframes, right? This is a quoting tool. So there's so much that you can do pre-work-wise in order to ultimately save time and money, and most importantly, where I was really looking, like reduce subjectivity. I just want to make better business decisions, and we're going to be spending all this money. How do I do it better? So you guys ready? We're going to go through 10 human truths, and I've got a couple polls in here, so it's going to be some audience participation. First truth. Users want everything instantly. What do I mean by this? My first poll, okay? I want you guys to think, how long will you wait for a web page to load until you hit refresh? Your answers are going to be 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, or I've got all the time in the world. Okay, we'll do a show of hands or a show of elbows. 3 seconds. 5 seconds. 10 seconds? Got any retirees out there? You guys want to see what the data says? What's super fun about it? Y'all think that you're more patient than you are, because we have the data to know. Half of you are hitting refresh by the time it hits 3 seconds. And not only once. Refresh, refresh, refresh. This is what you're actually doing. So what does it mean for you? Dun, dun, dun. We're stuck. Right? Ah! For those online, they said refresh. Thank you. Only 15% of the websites out there today are fast enough. So that's the good news. Look around. you're sitting in good company. Lots of opportunity here. And here's the thing. When it comes to user experience, it impacts the marketing dollars you're spending because the slower the website, the higher the bounce rates, the lower the conversions, the lower your SEO rankings. So my first takeaway for y'all today, by simply improving the speed of your website, you could instantly improve the user experience. And it all comes back to that human truth. We're freaking impatient and we want everything now. Think instant gratification. Second, we don't read, we scan blocks of content. And here's why. When someone's on your website or in your mobile app, they're not in reading mode. They didn't pick up a book and a blanket and cozy on the couch. They're in doing mode. I wanted to show an example. It's just really, really, really well done of what I mean by scanning and looking at blocks of content. It's a phenomenal headline, The Frugal Traveler's Guide to Luxury Trips. It's like they spoke right to me. With a scannable headline, okay, this is a little less me. Here's your primer on jet setting like a Kardashian without totally blowing your budget. This is scannable. This is what they're reading. Now, if we're thinking, hey, I'm not in travel, I'm in healthcare, I don't get to write all these fun Kardashian things, the Mayo Clinic is rocking it for long-form content. And here's what I really want you to notice. They've got a great, short, descriptive subhead, super scannable, and if you sit there and count, there's literally only 3 to 5 sentences under each section. This is not really long-form white papers. This is what scannable content is, and this is what your users are doing. So if you're putting more than a couple sentences in there, they're not reading it. And if you're not breaking it up, they basically just read a couple bits of information. So remember, your user is a doer. They're in a doing mindset, not a reading mindset. We're going to come to my favorite of the all 10 right now. Oh, I forgot your takeaway. So break up your copy with those headlines, those subheads, find a relevant photo. This is how human nature works. Now my favorite one. We love to share content even when we haven't read it. Poll time, okay? I can already tell you I am so incredibly guilty. So let's just show of hands. Who's guilty? Okay, you ready for the crazy second half to the story, why I love it so much? Do you know which content I actually read? The content you guys shared with me. Because in my head, I think, oh, Andrea, I'm here with my managing director. She shares a piece of content with me, and I instantly think, oh, wow. Andrea fully vetted this content, read it thoroughly, decided it was good for me. Okay, you all know that's how you feel, right? But yet I'm just as guilty. So my son's really into American Ninja Warrior Junior. He competes as a junior Ninja Warrior. And his ninja gym had done like a little image of him, on the rings doing something cool with an article. I don't even remember what the article is about because guess what? I didn't read it. But I forwarded it because really Facebook for me is for my mom and dad and my in-laws. Aunts and uncles don't live near us. And I forwarded him like, look, Michael. I'm assuming he's featured in the article. Had nothing to do with him. They just thought he was a cute kid with a cute photo, right? But I am just as guilty. Here's the crazy thing, okay? So if you look on the x-axis, it's showing the read time from low to high. If you look on the y-axis, it's showing the social activity. So here's the thing I want you to know. The less time people spend reading your content, the more likely they are to share it. This is crazy, us humans, and we are so much alike. Now, if there's content that you need to share, remember they want to scan. Remember they're not reading it anyway, right? So the things they absolutely love, infographics and lists. I found you a couple. Super timely. Infographic, list. This is what's being shared. This is what's actually not being read. So here's my takeaway. Again, this is why this is one's my favorite. Please spend a lot more time on that headline, on those subheads. Rewrite that headline 5, 10, 20 times if you have to. That's what's going to be read. That's what they're going to make decisions on. So spend time on that headline and that subhead. Given you have to have, some people are going to read. You do need to have valuable content. But when we're talking about how you're going to leverage it on a website or an app or any kind of mobile device, this is what you need to know. And people spend so much time on the bulk content, and then at the end, I should put a headline in there. So I just want you to kind of think about it from a different point of view based on what the research is telling us. Number 4, users value consistency. This is what I mean by this. So this is for the JAMA network, so part of the American Medical Association for their journals. And they came to us and asked us to do a usability study on one of their iPad apps that they had developed in-house. What the designer had decided to do was they had 2 requirements. One was we need to have the physicians and have the users, if they like an article, add it to their interests. And another thing we want them to do is be able to let the world know articles they like and articles they don't. So they thought they'd get a little creative and chose the heart icon as the icon tool to use when you want to add something to your interests lists. No one got that. Everyone thought it was like Facebook. I love it. And they were moving on. And then they'd bump them to this weird section and be like, wait, what's going on? Where's this going? What did I do? Right? All they really needed to do was use the plus and minus. Because you want to add something, it's a plus. A minus is take away. Don't reinvent the wheel here. It took us a long time to get this, to get here where people instinctively know. A heart means like. A plus means add. A minus means reduce, right? These are fundamental UX principles that you don't change, or it's going to take even longer for people to learn your system. And the longer it takes someone to learn your system or the way your brain works or how your site was set up, the less likely they are to think that it's easy to use. So in addition, once they had used up the heart, they had chosen to do thumbs up and thumbs down on the research. Well, guess what? No physician wants to thumb down their peer, right? Not everyone feels the pressure to thumb up. So if they would have just used the pluses and minuses, and this is what the recommendation was for the usability study before the whole thing was built, right? Just keep things consistent and use those established UX patterns. There's plenty of ways, I promise, for you to get super, super creative. That is not the area. Next, bum, bum, bum. If you have a rotating banner on your homepage, and I pulled a intentional non-healthcare organization, everyone thinks this is an ad. Okay? Why would they think that? Because everywhere else they go, there are these long 780 by 56 or whatever flashing banner ads. This has happened so much to them that their brain literally processes your rotating homepage as an ad, ignores it, and moves on. No one in our studies could ever tell you what was on that banner when it was moving. Right? As they moved off another page, our moderator would stop and be like, great, what was on the homepage banner? What homepage banner? I don't know. I think there was a cat. Right? They don't know. So you may be sitting there being like, well, I kind of have to because everyone's fighting for space on the homepage and no one could prioritize what's going to be on the homepage. I'm going to show you some options that go from like acceptable to better to good. So I grabbed a hospital system, This is better. Why this is better is that at least the user controls it, right? They can move them on if they're truly interested, and you could tell there's 5 of them there. So this is better. But us UX designers, we're getting better. Northwestern's doing a great job. Okay? They had multiple things they wanted done. They knew what the key tasks were. So they were able to still put in their marketing message, still have that great banner, still tell their story, but it also broke a couple things down, which were key to-dos that they wanted to do. Requesting an appointment, finding doctors, finding locations. And what's really interesting is that as users, right, we're ignoring the banners, but it used to be we'll ignore the banners unless you're a retail store. Then I'll watch them because I want to know what the sale is, right? Because you feel like your time is going to be worth money and you don't want to miss like a really good deal. So for a short period of time, your retailers were almost the only ones allowed to have a rotating banner because we have been trained that that's where the sale is. Even that's changing. Gap's like, I don't want there to be a chance that you might miss our promotion. So yeah, they're kind of jamming it all on the front page on the front banner, but I just wanted you to see all the different solves. So when you're sitting in a marketing meeting or you're meeting with IT, and someone's like, why don't we put a rotator? Because then everybody gets first place. They're no different than what we've just done to all these children. So the takeaway, please don't use carousels. I'm on a personal mission to start eliminating carousels. Or if you're a marketer and you don't like somebody, put their stuff in a carousel. You'll get those product owners. Make them so happy. But you know, dun, dun, dun. What we call it is banner blindness. Just giving you guys some terms to use so you can look super smart too. Other options too, lots of personalization tools. Prioritize content, have the tough conversations. And I will have, I'll take questions at the end if you guys have them. Number 6, we will scroll if you give me a reason to scroll. There was a time where you scrolled. Then there was a time, like trends and fashion, you don't scroll. And you're trying to cram everything in what we call above the fold. We're back to everyone will scroll. The psychological and behavioral reason everyone will scroll today is because of mobile devices. We have been retrained that the good information is here on the scroll. So we will scroll now. But I'm going to show you an example of there was content below the fold, but you couldn't tell. We call this a false bottom. Super cute design. This is one usability study we did, right? Really adorable wagon kicking out. You could design your own dream wagon. They don't have a rotating carousel. You could kind of control it. Well, guess what? All the users clicked on the nav, clicked on the buttons. They had no idea that all of this was product promotion. Look at this cool thing we have. Look at this other thing we have. Look, like product, fun. Here's how we give back. Here's what we do. It was gone because they just assumed there was nothing below the fold. Here is an adjustment to it. So we took the same kind of idea and said, how do you make it not have the false bottom, still match what it is that you're looking to do? Very much similar to the carousel that we just talked about. These kind of build upon one another. This gave you an option to scroll down. And I have another example that took it a different kind of creative way. This is for Cook County Health. So you can see kind of the bottom of the physician directory, which we can assume is a very important feature and piece of functionality that they built, is kind of sticking up, right? They don't have that same false bottom. They're still working through trying to make everyone happy by telling their story. You'll now recognize it everywhere when there's political equality going on. But they did a really nice job of not trying to put everything in its place, but you still knew there was something, what we call below the fold. Interesting stats about that whole fold is that you can see the line for the digital fold. The darkest red is where the eyes are going the most. That's where the most engagement in a heat map is. So again, they're not really totally engaging with that banner, especially if it's rotating, but they still will engage because I showed you some examples that work. But that first section below that fold, that's where you put the really engaging type of content that you want. Maybe you have an event. Maybe there's something good going on in the press. Maybe you have a product launch. This is all strategic and data-driven. This will help you make decisions and work with your team on what actions you want people to take and where should I be putting that valuable content. And again, we're all so much alike. It's part of our human nature. So my takeaway with this, just be aware of those false bottoms. Be aware of those carousels. Just be aware of where the really good, strong, actionable, engaging content and action items should be. Number 7. I know many of you are probably having conversations about accessibility. There are so many times, and I would almost argue on almost every single usability study that we do, something comes up around color contrast. I'm going to give you an example of one we recently did. This is for a manufacturer of fiber cement siding. Its competitor is vinyl. And they offer pre-colored, pre-dipped siding, so it looks like wood or cedar. It's made out of cement, and then your insurance goes down because your house is considered, if you put it on, like a brick, right? So it's a great kind of piece, and if you buy it pre-colored, then it's guaranteed that it'll last 15 years. The number one thing, though, is trying to identify what colors, and then what samples of what colors do I want. This is as recent as, a couple months ago, and you could see the ones that we highlighted in red. These were actual users saying, what is that? Some people couldn't see any letters on that at all. Others knew there was something there, and they were trying to click on it to see if maybe a big word was going to come up, right? It's so fascinating to watch the different participants work, because not only do we give them tasks to do, we have a usability lab on site. Clients can be sitting in the conference room, eating their bagel, doing their work while they're watching the whole study take place. We believe in one-on-one studies because that's when you get the best conversations. We can start open-ended. We could be testing navigation. We could be testing the usable pieces of it. But what happened here is that they just kept expecting something else to happen because they actually just couldn't read it. And with accessibility in healthcare growing as much as it is, and now some of the lawsuits that have been coming about, I want to show you what Aflac did. This is where they are today. If you look in the high top bar, it says high contrast mode. Do you guys kind of see that above resources, above the little search? So what you're looking at is what the designers, UX, dev, marketing team, right, did. This is how they wanted it to look. This really felt on brand, but did not meet accessibility standards. So they gave an option. You can click on high contrast mode. Boom. So what was maybe transparent for the big piece of content now is all black, right? It's a little bit weird to me personally, but that's also, again, painter, designer, that side of me. The big black line, quite frankly, I don't know why that was so important, but They kept the black line there. And the blue for request a quote and file a claim is darker. They're just little pieces, but they gave the user the ability to control if they wanted to be in high contrast mode or not. So it's a really interesting solution to accessibility as well. Yes? It's CSS changes. That's a great question. So for those online, there was a question if this was a lot of extra work to do a high contrast mode. So the high contrast mode is basically CSS changes, so it's a change at the interface layer in code. It would not be easy for someone to do who wasn't technical. I don't know that they exist in any content management systems today yet. I wouldn't be surprised if that feature gets added eventually. But if you had somebody who knew front-end development and could make a couple changes in HTML and CSS, it's essentially saying, choose CSS 1 and then CSS alt, and it just tags you back and forth with the alt or the 1. But we're all getting creative on how do we solve really two needs, and that's what's so cool about user experience. I've got the need to create a beautiful and welcoming experience, but that beautiful and welcoming and on-brand experience might not be possible for 100% of the population, and this isn't bad. It hasn't changed anything. It's just a little bit different for those that have that little bit extra need. There's a lot of cool tools out there too. If you were even feeling like, oh, I have some questions about that button, or we've got something and someone chose this headline color in a light gray and I'm not really sure it can read. These are ugly as all heck. All of them are. I'm so sorry about that. It really could use a UX designer on it. But you guys have access to this tool. But what's cool about it, you can put in the foreground, you can put in the background. It gives you a contrast ratio. And the last time I spoke on this topic, someone asked me, like, what's the ideal contrast ratio? There isn't necessarily an ideal number, but what's important is they're telling you, depending on your standards, so for accessibility, it's not a yes or a no, like anything in life. It's a rainbow. It's a spectrum, right? So you as a company have to decide, are you going to be AA, AAA? What are you going to be? And what's cool about the contrast checker is it just lets you know it's simple pass, fail. So I'm just throwing this out there as a great free tool that you could use that helps in case you had question. And then there's going to be always these variables. Green is really, 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 really hard on white. It just is. Any green that you actually like or think is really nice looking probably doesn't pass the contrast checker. So we do struggle a lot with that when someone has a green as an accent, because this is where we want to use it. And the same with like text links. It really struggles unless you go with this, perfect for St. Patrick's Day kind of green and darker. So it is what it is, right? Still working through things. At the end of the day, we're talking about humans. We're talking about improved user experience. And sometimes it's just color that's standing between you and a great user experience. There's free tools out there already for you. Lots of options that you can do. And do know this comes up all the time. And particularly when you've got an older audience as a core audience. I could have even gone on with text size. There was a time that small font was trendy. Then it got to like super big font where you're like, whoa, that was really, really large. I feel like we're trying to find a medium now, but it's this whole mix of what to do on your phone. How is it going to work and respond on desktop? But be aware when you're thinking about user experience, it's about the whole experience. And it's truly, we have 4 pillars at Sandstorm. One is around brand strategy and messaging and white space opportunities. The other is around the design and the user experience. Then there's development, building, and data, testing. Because all of that works together for the user experience. What you say, can they read it? Can they find it? What the entire experience is. That's user experience. I love this one. Okay, I know you guys know I love the one that says we all read, or we don't really read, and then we share it anyway. I like this one too, because you're not that sneaky. Okay, you all think you're sneaky, and you all think that your business goals are somehow not going to be seen on the site, but I am telling you, your users can tell when you have prioritized your goals, what's important to you, over what's important to them. I'm going to show you an example again, and a recent example. This is a wonderful company. We absolutely love their marketing team. These are amazing human beings. Okay? Human mind says, classic, that must be the base level. Then blue would be the next level, right? Then pro, then Sense Plus. Because we read from left to right. This is what we think. But business and marketing said, oh, no, we need to sell a lot more of the classic. So let's move it to the front of the line. Guess what completely failed in the usability study? Anyone having any understanding whatsoever of the order or the products or what was included in each product. So you make one goofy choice in the beginning, that runs down the entire experience where now they're walking away for so many reasons. One, I don't know, let's say classics, $2,500. I cannot remember at all what the prices of these were. I might say, whoa, it starts at $2,500. I only need $1,000 out of there. One way. Another. Wait, if classic's $25 and blue is $1,500 and pro is $1,000, wait, what order are they in, or which product was what? And then they can't even remember the order anymore because there was a natural inclination that they thought made sense, all because the user's goals, my user here, all they want to do is buy something, and they believe it's going to go cheapest to most expensive or most expensive to cheapest. Either way, they don't think it's mixed like spaghetti. And there's a lot of ways to solve for this in that, okay, I get you want to sell more classic. Me too. Call it out. Bestseller. Highlight it. Square it out. Something. Put it in its right order. Arrow it. There's a lot of different ways we can do this. But just moving it to the left, this is so in this one we say easy fix before something goes live, right? Hey, make this changes. We're going to 1, sell more product. 2, make people more happy. 3, increase loyalty, right? There's all these benefits just because you prioritize their goals over yours, but it still can win. There's so many times that we could have a win-win. Transparency is what builds trusts. What is it that your user really wants to do? And another thing that's interesting about user experience versus marketing, because I'm a marketer, so I was a designer turned marketer running UX now, is that user experience is not about marketing demographics. It's about behaviors and motivations. So there are a lot of times that you can have a college student and a senior physician. So I have a client that has college students going to med students and physicians that are in Germany that have been practicing with their own private practice for 30 years, and they happen to be in the exact same user group. And you might be like, what? From a marketing demographic, one's at the beginning of their career, one's at the end of the career. They're not even globally the same. But for this particular client of ours, they had the same goals and motivations. They wanted online content for conferences because those that were overseas, it was too much out of their day to come fly to America for a conference, but they still wanted the networking, they still wanted the education. And for my med students, they are working long hours, they're exhausted, and they're broke. So they too had the same motivations and behaviors. That's essentially how identifying user groups and personas are very different than if you were messaging to them from a marketing standpoint, but on a website or an app, they actually are in the same group with the same motivations and behaviors. 9. They know stock photography is not real. Okay. Fun little thing I did. I typed in doctor in Google, wanted to see the images. For anyone here, and this is going to go right into my takeaway, do you know who hates these photos most? Doctors! Hate them. If we're doing usability study, because we have had so many doctors, and I'm going to go as far as saying particularly neurosurgeons, they get so upset that every single doctor photo has a stethoscope. Seriously, I can't make this up. I just did it every single time. And it makes no sense, but for some reason in the stock world, if you're a doctor, put on the stethoscope necklace. And when you're doing a study, they get so distracted that that's all they want to comment about. They'll get to a page. Oh my God, we're going to have another conversation about photos of physicians. They hate them. I had to throw it in there, not only because we're at a healthcare conference, but because we hear it all the freaking time. So here's the deal. If you have patients or if you have physicians as a user group, go with the patients. It's super safe. They never complain about the patients. And we're going to end it, and we're going to be partially on time. In user experience, we are all consumers. There is no B to B. I want to tell you a story of an insurance company. It was a medical insurance company we were working with. We did a ton of one-on-one research with their members. One of the key findings was that the biggest stress they had was, where's my claim? Where's my claim? I filed my claim. Where's my money? How much are you going to pay? How much are you not going to pay? Where's my claim? Nonstop. You go to the call center. What do they want to know? Where's my claim? Where's my claim? So we had, 20, 25 people in the room. And we brought up an inspiration brand, Domino's Pizza. They literally looked at us like, who did we just hire? And we told them, look out of your industry. They solved it already. Where's my pizza? The number one issue that Domino's had was, where's my pizza? Where's my pizza? Where's my pizza? They sound exactly like, where's my claim? So, look up and out of your industry to solve those UX issues. They've probably been solved before. So I'm going to end you guys with a fun thought. Always remember that you are absolutely unique, just like everybody else. I'll take questions. Thank you. The question was, if you have a video in the banner, do people assume that's an ad? Nope, banner's cool. Go ahead with the banner. And I've even seen some people test different video banners where maybe they'll do one video banner that's more geared around their product and then another video banner that's maybe more geared around their culture or people, and then they'll do A/B testing on it to see if there's a bigger impact on it. But that's a great question. Yep, that has not failed yet. I do. Because footers are interesting, again, with trends. They used to be super tiny, pretend they don't exist, then they became half the page, and now they're bringing back down again, right? A lot of SEO. I think it was Alicia, we were talking about SEO earlier. So if you remember the one slide that showed where the heat maps go, banners are not a hot item. I'll tell you what they're going to banners for. Pretty much contact us looking for a phone number. Or footers. I'm so sorry. Thank you. The footer is at the bottom. It would be a contact us or maybe a map, something like that. Even signing up for your newsletter, but it's not a big action spot other than for those expected pieces. Some people throw social media icons down there, but we're seeing better results when the social media icons are attached to your content. Did you have a follow-up question? I think I would, one, probably have to see it, and two, I'll be honest, probably have to test it. But here's the cool part. You only need 5 to 6 people. Can we be really, really clear about that? They cannot work for you. I am so sorry I did not mention that. Not only can they not work for you, they cannot be on your board, they cannot be on your committee, they cannot be a volunteer, they cannot have an agenda. They literally need to be a stranger. Oh, funny half story. My dad qualified for one of our studies. So my dad's like, Sand, should I fail on purpose? Oh, Dad, you won't have to. I've seen it. Oh, the question is whether the consequences of carousels and websites. Like I told you earlier, if you don't really like them, the people that are asking you to put them in, then that's an inside joke between you and me. Yeah, absolutely. So the question was, is there still a place for long form content, particularly when you're thinking of the Mayo Clinic example? Is there still a space for long form content, but the rules have changed? Yes. I feel like you just gave me a great leading survey question. Yes, and that's what I was trying to demonstrate. Good subheads that are meaty. Tell me what's going to be in that paragraph before I waste my time. And then paragraphs, 3 to 5 sentences, and move on. The only thing I would have done differently than Mayo Clinic is I would have added a couple maybe links in the content. They had basically nothing, especially if it's terminology that you don't know. So maybe you'd move it to a page that would describe it. But at the end of the day, they might have, I don't know how many people writing all at the same time, but they have done a really good job. They understand who's scanning and reading. So yes, if you went to that page, long form is an understatement. They love the scroll button. It was massive. I just took one teeny little section to show you good work. So the question was, do I have any guidance on how often to update the homepage imagery or content? So I could tell you what we do, which is kind of like a great easy win. So if we launch a new site, we separate the interface layer from the base backend layer where any of the technology or integrations or like the heavy lifting is done. And then after launch, we plan a redesign of, let's say, just the homepage within 12 to 18 months, because it gives your users the idea that you're always in motion and you're innovating. But it's a teeny tiny cost because we planned for it from the get-go. And then maybe 12 months after that, we're making a slight little CSS tweak on some of the subpages so it's feeling refreshed. But whether you should be changing content on home pages, a lot of times it's automated, or you're pulling in data points, or it's personalized. So it kind of does. If you've got a site that is just not changing it and you've got repeat visitors, then it feels like you're just not paying attention to it. But if you've got a site where once they come, they're done, they don't really ever come back again, no one knew. So I hope that helps, that it's situational without me just saying it depends.